All right, today we're going to get right into it and break down the science of what the sun is really doing to your skin.
So, have you ever wondered about this? It sounds kind of funny, but the answer really gets to the heart of how we age. It's all about the difference between the aging you can't control and the aging you very much can.
Okay, first things first, we've got to understand that not all aging is the same. It's not one single process. Your skin is actually fighting a battle on two completely different fronts at the same time.
So on one hand, you've got what's called intrinsic aging. You can think of this as your body's built-in clock, right? It's the natural genetic timeline. But then, on the other hand, you've got extrinsic aging. And this is where the outside world, the environment, comes in and just completely hijacks that timeline, basically hitting the fast-forward button. And the number one bad guy here? You guessed it, the sun. And this whole process, this accelerated aging driven by the sun, it has a name. It's called photoaging. And this is the thing that's responsible for most of the stuff we see and think of as getting older. You know, the deep wrinkles, the dryness, that feeling of lost elasticity in the skin. All right, so if we want to figure out how to fight this photoaging, we first have to really understand the enemy. Let's take a look at what's actually hiding inside a single sunbeam. You see, it's not as simple as just sunlight. Not all UV rays are the same. A better way to think about it is like two different kinds of attackers. You've got one that hits the surface, the top layer of your skin, and then you've got another one that's a deep infiltrator, one that bypasses the surface and goes way down deep. And this is where it gets really interesting, because they have totally different jobs. The UVB rays, those are the burning rays. They're the ones that give you that immediate, obvious, painful sunburn right on the surface. But the UVA rays, they're sneakier. They're the aging rays. They dive deep down and start quietly breaking apart the very foundation of your skin, the collagen and elastin that keep it firm and bouncy. Okay, now we're going to zoom in way in, down to the cellular level. Because this isn't just a surface problem. What's happening is basically a coordinated, forefront attack on your skin cells that forces them to age way too fast.
So UV light isn't a one-trick pony. It launches this complex, four-pronged attack. Let's break down exactly how this assault on our cells works, starting with the most direct hit of all.
Okay, attack number one is a direct hit on your DNA. You can picture UV light as a tiny saboteur that gets inside your skin cells and literally starts breaking and twisting the DNA strands. It messes up the instruction manual that tells each cell what to do and how to copy itself.
And the consequences of that are huge. When the DNA gets twisted, it creates these little knots. Scientists call them CPDs, and they basically jam up the whole system. The cell panics, hits the emergency brake, and tries to fix things. But if the damage is just too much, the cell either has to self-destruct or it turns into this dysfunctional, prematurely old cell. And what's the end result? It stops making the good stuff, the collagen and elastin that keep skin looking young.
All right, front number two in this cellular war is something called oxidative stress. The best way to picture this is just pure chaos inside your cells. It's caused by a massive explosion of these unstable little molecules called reactive oxygen species, or ROS for short. So just imagine these ROS molecules are like tiny, out-of-control sparks flying everywhere inside your cells. They damage everything they bump into, and, this is critical, they switch on these special enzymes that start to actively chew up your skin's collagen. This is where that structural breakdown really starts to happen. And what's worse, all this chaos makes it even harder for the cell to repair that initial DNA damage we talked about. It's just a classic downward spiral.
Now, all that chaos and damage from oxidative stress, it triggers the third part of the attack, the inflammatory response. Now, normally, inflammation's a good thing. It's your body's emergency response team rushing to a site of injury. But when it's being triggered constantly, day after day, by the sun, that alarm never shuts off. And the defense mechanism totally backfires, leading to this chronic, low-level inflammation that just accelerates aging.
And here's why that's so bad. This constant low-grade inflammation creates the perfect environment for destroying collagen. The damaged cells actually send out signals that call in more of those collagen-destroying enzymes. At the same time, this whole process weakens the local immune system, which means all those old, damaged, malfunctioning cells don't get cleared out. They just stick around, making things worse.
And that brings us to the final front of the attack. And this one hits the cell right where it hurts, its power source. UV radiation directly damages the mitochondria, the little power plants inside every single one of our cells. This damage causes a full-blown energy crisis.
And this is where it all comes together in a really nasty feedback loop. These damaged power plants don't just produce less energy for repairs, they actually start pumping out more of that toxic smoke, more ROS. And that new flood of ROS goes on to fuel all the other damage we just talked about. More DNA damage, more oxidative stress, more inflammation. It's a vicious cycle of more damage and less energy to fix it.
Okay, so we've seen the forefront attack. It sounds pretty bleak, right? But the good news is, now that we know the battle plan, we can build our own forefront defense. Let's look at the science-backed ways we can actually protect our skin.
And your first line of defense, the most powerful one you have, is also the simplest. Just create a physical barrier. Seriously, before you even think about lotions or supplements, the basics are what make the biggest difference. Stay out of the sun during peak hours and use hats, sunglasses, and protective clothing.
And this is a great way to see how our defense strategy lines up perfectly with the attack plan. Sunscreen is your external shield. It absorbs or scatters the UV rays before they even get in. Then you've got things like dietary antioxidants, think vitamin C and E, that work from the inside to neutralize those damaging ROS molecules and fight oxidative stress. And then things like dietary collagen and healthy fats help rebuild and shore up the skin's structure from within.
Understanding all this cellular level detail isn't just about what you can do today. It's actually paving the way for the entire future of skin health and how we think about aging itself. And the researchers who did the work we're looking at here say it best. We're really just scratching the surface. We're only beginning to understand this incredibly complex web of interactions. And that deeper understanding is exactly what's going to lead to smarter, more effective therapies down the road. So here's the really exciting part. By understanding this forefront attack, science is starting to move beyond just blocking the sun. The focus is shifting to actually repairing the damage after it's been done. We're talking about things like using gene editing tools to fix broken DNA, or developing therapies that can reboot the skin's own immune system.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to end on. For decades, anti-aging has been a game of prevention. But as our scientific understanding gets deeper and deeper, are we about to enter a new era? A time when we can actually reverse sun damage instead of just slowing it down?